Mr. Smith, I don't know if you've ever heard of reverse mortgages, but if you wanted to live in an area where, so let's say he has a yard and he's getting tired of upkeep, you could actually sell this, move into a 55 and older community and not have a monthly payment. If that's something that's interesting to you, I would connect you with a reverse mortgage person just to have a preliminary discussion, right? Now, look, remember how I prefaced this whole conversation. If you're slammed and you've got people beating on your door to sell their houses, this is not something that you're probably going to spend a lot of time doing, right? But for me, I've always taken the approach that if I don't have something else going on, I'm going to press into whatever I have in front of me and see if there's an opportunity here. Hello and happy Friday, everybody here today. Did anybody that was on Tuesday use any of those, the how or what questions, any of that, tell me more, any of that stuff? It's okay if not. All right, so we'll give everybody a second. My name is Barry Jenkins. I wrote a best-selling book called Too Nice for Sales, and the team at Mescula asked me each week to spend time applying those principles to your sales conversion process. I also run an 80-agent team in Virginia Beach, and so what we do on these calls, it's live coaching, and you guys bring your scenarios. Some of the scenarios that you bring that I try to add value on are things like the leads aren't answering the phone. They're answering the phone and the conversations aren't going anywhere, or they're answering the phone and I'm not getting appointments, or I'm getting appointments and I'm not getting any listings. If that's you, I want to hear about the last time that occurred and what you'll watch as you sit on these sessions. As I'm talking to another agent or I'm talking to you, you guys are going to pull nuggets out of the approach that we have to sales. And it's part of why my team over the last 10 years, some years we sell 800 homes, some years we sell 600, 400, year after year, because we've learned how to talk to people that don't know what they want yet. And that's the key with all of this. All of you are hoping to talk to a lead that says, I want to sell my home in 6 months, 3 months. Can you come over? I need to sell it soon, right? That's what we want. And I hope you get lots of them. But while we wait for those types of leads, the majority of them are going to get on the phone with you and think in their mind you are not relevant for them, not today. They think you're only relevant when it's time to stick a sign in the yard. And I'm here to tell you, if you can master this topic that I'm reviewing right now with you, you will always have plenty. You'll always have an abundance. Learning how to be relevant to the person that doesn't know what they want yet is the key to online lead conversion. All right. So I need to mute my computer. Okay, so let's kick it off. Who has had or you could share a win. Those are always in order. A win is always in order. So if you've had a lead that you were able to get an appointment on recently, I'd love for you to unmute. But who wants to kick it off? Who has a question or a scenario where they did not crush it or they did? Either one. Peggy, I see your hands raised.
Yes, I actually have some lead. It's pretty qualified. They always saying to me that they want to sell after the spring, which is understandable. In Vancouver, our interest rate is so high right now, and we see a decrease of the rates coming. So I don't want to lose that control, and I do send them monthly report. But other than that, I also worry that I will lose control of that client. I'm not sure what to do.
You should worry. And I'm not because of you, but because that's just the reality of the business, right? I told a story last week where I was early on in my career. I did a great job, or at least I thought I did. Someone came behind me a week later. They had a legitimate reason to wait, much like your client had a legitimate reason to wait. In my situation, they needed to do some work. And during the time that they were doing work, another agent came in and snatched that listing. They did a better job articulating their value. They did a better job building rapport, and they did a better job of providing value today. And that's what I want to share with you. Sending a monthly market report is a good thing to do. It's also probably what your competition is doing as well. And in marketing, it's all about setting yourself apart. So what I'd like to challenge you to do is to try to think of some ways to be relevant to this client right now that hopefully results in you meeting face to face. So for example, some things that you can do that you guys have heard me say before, but I know that it takes a while. We have to hear something a lot before we actually action on it. Walking the property to look at it like a buyer with the buyer's eye to see if there's any repairs that are absolutely necessary. That's super important. Another thing that you tell them, hey, I don't want to walk the property when you're ready to sell. I want to do it before you're ready so that I can make sure you don't waste money fixing things that aren't going to get you a return on your investment. But for my team, that is still the way we're getting into listings because that's something you can do to be relevant early on. And then I just want you to think about things that you can share with them that make you relevant. So recent sales, recent listings in the neighborhood or near anything that if you're doing a CMA and you're pulling from a neighborhood a half a mile away, if there's any activity from that half a mile away neighborhood, I want you to say, hey, there's a recent sale, there's a recent listing. I want to go over it with you. Do you have time for coffee next week? Right? You're making it relevant for them. You're not just sending emails. Have you met with this person face to face?
Yes, I do. And
Okay.
some of the clients, they are the snowbirds. They're going down south in the winter time, and they said, I'm come back in early spring and then we can talk. But in the meantime, I can only send them the CMA. I send them the listing, the report of the September, more things that I can do, but I can't be face to face. Some I can, some still in Vancouver. Yeah, I would definitely do that.
So emails, text messages, since they are snowbirds, if you have a software, it's free software called Loom, Loom, and it records your screen and puts your face in the corner.
Yeah, I use Bomb.
Good. Okay, BombBomb's good as well. So share your screen and go over the content with them. Anything you can do to be relevant. So candidly, all of you that hear my voice right now, you need to start making a curated list of go-to topics or items of content or relevant data that you guys use for all of your homeowners. So I just gave you 2 repairs. I gave you active or sold listings. Lifting out one house, going over picture by picture, you'd be surprised. People really appreciate that. How does your kitchen compare to this one? Oh, let's factor that in when we decide to list. It doesn't need to be a long call, 10 to 15 minutes, right? And then if there's any work that they need to do, they're like, yeah, I really need to get that fence repaired, let's say. I'm not telling you to become a contractor, but be like, if you were to be a relative that lives in the area while they're out of town, that relative might open the home for the contractor and check on the work after it's done, right? Anything you can do to become a resource to them today is super important. And if you think about it, Peggy, this is very different than what most agents do. Most agents send a market report and they check in every couple of months. What I'm advocating all of you to do is to become passionately valuable, not just so that you can win the business, but because you're serving them in a way that sets you apart. So this isn't groundbreaking information, but I do think that it is groundbreaking and revolutionary in the sense of most people aren't doing things like this. Market reports, buyer guides, go create a Google alert for your community. So whatever your neighborhood is, whatever your zip code or city or postal code, that's what they say in Canada, right?
Postal code, yeah,
postal code. Whatever your postal code is, do a Google alert. And anytime search results come up on Google for that phrase that you put in, Google will email you. So if you were to say, whatever your postal code is, real estate news, let's say there's a change in the local tax rate. That's a great talking point for several weeks. Hey, just FYI, there's been an update on taxes. Not sure if you saw it. Like, it's a way to stay relevant without having to find the information yourself. And people love this stuff. They just love it. They love hearing about the local market. And the more you become the authority in the conversation, the more they value you, the more they answer the phone. So really important there. Any questions about that, Peggy?
Thank you very. No, I'm all good. Thank you.
Good. All right. So as you guys saw, that was a legitimate reason to wait. Not all reasons are legitimate. I would say it's 50%. 50% of the time you're talking to homeowners, they've got like a legit reason, right? I don't want to sell because rates In Canada, the way they work rates, it's different than in America, and it's way more standardized. And so they know something's about to change. To me, that's a legitimate reason to wait. And so her job is to be, relevant there. For a lot of you, though, when the person says, I'm waiting a year, I'm not ready, call me in 6 months. When you ask them how they decided on a year, about half of the time you ask, they're not going to know the answer. And that, man, I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of money in nurturing with what I said to Peggy, but wow, there's a lot of blue sky when the lead doesn't have clarity on why they're waiting. Most of the times it's because they're overwhelmed. All right. So who else has had a call recently with a lead and they did not get the appointment? And if so, I want you to unmute the mic and try to tell me your best case or best version of the story. What was their reason for not wanting to meet or not being ready? I'm talking to all of you that got on the phone with the lead and they just said, I just want the numbers. How about that one? Anybody have that recently? Yeah. I see like 4 people smiling. So, all right, Mark, let's go. You were the one that was laughing the most. Have you had that recently?
Yeah, I just got off the phone with somebody with that.
Yeah. All right. So you call them, hey, this is Mark. I'm amazing. And you asked me for the home value, right? And they're like, what?
Yeah, I just want the numbers. I'm old. I'm not really looking to sell. He got some insurance quote that required him to pay a percentage of the property's value in order to get the insurance. I think it's for his roof. And they valued his home at like $550,000, where it's really worth closer to $400,000. Okay. So it was more out of frustration. He's like, I know my home's not worth that much, but they're telling me it is. And I tried to nurture him a little bit. I got him talking way more than he originally wanted to. But in the end, he's like, I really don't want to sell right now. Maybe in the future, we'll see. I don't think so. I'm too old. I really like my house. That's kind of the bulk of the conversation.
Sure. So the way that in homeowners insurance can work is they have deductible amounts, and the more your home is worth, the more it would cost to rebuild it if it burned to the ground, and that drives the cost up, right? So when you're dealing with somebody that this is similar to a refi scenario. I don't want to sell. I'm in the process of refinancing, and I'm really just hoping to figure out what that value is, right? If you are slammed, if you have 4 sellers that you need to meet with this week, right? This guy might be one where you just kind of like give him what he wants and let him go. If you have time in your week, right? What I would recommend you do is to become super valuable to this person. And the way that you're going to do it is to say something like this, man, that's so annoying. I just read that insurance rates in some markets went up 50%. And I can understand your desire to reduce, right? So now you're sympathizing, you're empathizing with his frustration. So immediately that's disarming. From there, you're going to use the same phraseology I've been saying to you guys for the past few weeks, which is to where to say, it is hard to give you an exact value without walking it, but I would tell you based on the numbers I'm looking at, and then I would give a range. And just to be transparent with you, Mark, if I think the person doesn't have a good reason for not selling yet, I'm probably going to give a ridiculous range because I want to really highlight the fact that I need to walk the home, right? In this scenario, the guy's got a legitimate reason. So I wouldn't give an exact number without walking the property, but I would give a solid range. From there, what I would recommend you do is I would turn it and start to talk about becoming more valuable to him. So, Mr. Smith, if you really want to move the needle here with regards to getting the property values down, I can do a full CMA. I would just need to walk the property. It would take maybe 20 minutes. Once I'm there, I am going to highlight the fact that I don't get paid for this. And I usually would say something like, yeah, sometimes I have clients like yourself that wonder why I'm doing something like this, because obviously you're not paying me for my time, which is totally fine. It's no problem. I do this because I know that if I provide you an immense amount of value, if you have friends or family that are considering selling, you're going to recommend me, right? And so now our interests are aligned because in the back of their mind, they're wondering, why is he here if I'm not paying him any money, right? And then after you give him that value, again, emphasis on don't take 2 hours, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, quick walkthrough, time is money. After you do that, I want you to start asking questions because he did say maybe one day, right? And this is common with up in age clients. It's not that they're opposed to selling, but they don't have the same urgency to sell that someone that maybe is just grinding in their late 20s, early 30s, and they just had a baby, right? That hits different because they need an extra bedroom. In this scenario, they're like, is it even worth it? And what I would tell that person that's up in age, notice how I'm not saying old, right? I'm saying up in age. It's just more respectful. Those words matter. So just highlighting that for you. But to someone that is up in age, I start to ask, look, Mr. Smith, I know you're not ready to move. I know that you're not in a hurry to move. Just out of curiosity, if you did sell and you did move, would you stay local or would you move out of town? Such a non-aggressive way to start talking about the future. Would you stay local or would you move out of town? Let's say he says stay local. I'm going to press into that. Okay. Now, do you know of a specific area that you would want to move to? Some other questions. What state are you in? Are you in America or Canada, Mark?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Okay. Neither. Yeah. I'm just kidding. It is a country. Texas is its own. California and Texas are like they're their own countries. All right. So there are some really great programs when you're above 55 years of age, when you sell your home. There's some really cool reverse mortgage programs where you can take the equity from the sale of your home, put it as a down payment on the next home, and not have any payments. And so you don't need to become an expert on reverse mortgages. You just need to know enough to be dangerous. So what you would say is, well, Mr. Smith, I don't know if you've ever heard of reverse mortgages, but if you wanted to live in an area where, so let's say he has a yard and he's getting tired of upkeep, you could actually sell this, move into a 55 and older community and not have a monthly payment. If that's something that's interesting to you, I would connect you with a reverse mortgage person just to have a preliminary discussion, right? Now, look, remember how I prefaced this whole conversation. If you're slammed and you've got people beating on your door to sell their houses, this is not something that you're probably going to spend a lot of time doing, right? But for me, I've always taken the approach that if I don't have something else going on, I'm going to press into whatever I have in front of me and see if there's an opportunity here. Reverse mortgages for a lot of up in age people are an enigma. They don't understand it. They maybe heard some horror stories, but reverse mortgage to purchase. So there's like reverse mortgage refinances, and that's one type of reverse mortgage, but there's a whole nother reverse mortgage where you can purchase a really expensive property and not make any monthly payments. And so he can move into a community that's more suited to him. And that's something that you would have a reverse mortgage consultant, somebody that specializes in it, talk to him. You can't do this over the phone though. This is a face-to-face because this is for them, this is probably the largest asset that they own. And this isn't something that the decision they're going to make off the cuff, right? So have you ever heard of reverse mortgages to purchase, Mark?
I have not.
Okay. So do you have a lender partner that you work with?
Yeah, I have a couple that.
So I want you to talk to them. I guarantee you, neither of them are going to know a lot about it, and they're going to refer you to somebody else that does. That's just how it works. People that do reverse mortgages normally specialize in it because it's super weird. But this highlights something that I want to highlight for everybody, because I realize for some of you, you're like, man, he really went into the weeds with the reverse mortgage. That's because knowing cool mortgage products is a key to helping people buy. When you have the idea that the other three agents didn't, you instantly are valuable, right? And most professionals, attorneys, CPAs, doctors, they don't think out of the box. You have to bring those ideas. But when you're a person that knows, so for me, so you guys know some of my favorite outside the box mortgages that you should learn more about are reverse mortgages, FHA 203B and 203K. Those are just freaking the coolest. The government lends you money to fix it up. So you can buy houses like rich people do. First-time home buyer programs in Virginia. If you haven't owned a home in 3 years, you're considered a first-time home buyer, right? So these are all little programs that in the back of my mind, I bring up. Now you might say, well, hold on, I'm buying seller leads. Why are we talking about mortgage products? Because homeowners need a place to live, right? They need to go somewhere. And we are so excited to talk to homeowners about selling. And if we express that excitement too much, we present ourselves as being out of touch. But if people are not necessarily worried about selling in the same way they are worried about where they're going to go next, for most homeowners, that is actually the thing that bothers them the most. So what you guys are starting to see a theme in, if you've been on these sessions with me, I talk about buying a lot because that's actually their key motivating factor. When they don't know where they're going to move, what they can afford, what it would cost as far as the process, they're going to tell you things like, I'm waiting a year, I'm not ready. And a lot of you that hear my voice right now, you're so focused on being kind. And I respect that. Like, I'm glad that you're being kind. But you manifest that kindness in a way that is not helpful at all. Telling them, call me when you have a question is not valuable. It's not valuable. All right. If you have the flu, you have two kinds of friends. You have the friend that says, let me know if you need anything. And hey, I'm thankful for those friends. And then you have the friends that say, I just put a pot of chicken noodle soup on your front porch, right? They're very different types of behavior. For most of us in our real estate businesses, if we're being honest, we're the let me know if you need anything friend. Let me know when you have any questions, Mr. Smith. And that's not going to make you the amount of money that you want to make. It's just not. Okay. What you need to do is you need to be the friend that says, listen, I hear you say that you're waiting a year. I also know that most people don't know what they're going to have for dinner tonight. So planning something a year out is very difficult. And normally when I hear someone say I'm waiting a year, what goes on in my mind is I just think you're probably overwhelmed. And that's what I'm here for. Right. Any questions about that? I see we have a couple of comments. I thought you had to have proceeds from a reverse mortgage to use in a reverse mortgage sale. Yeah, no, well, that's the idea. I'm assuming that the homeowner has equity and then he floats that equity into the next purchase. But to your point, Melissa, yes, that is a fantastic question for your mortgage lender. Candidly, guys, I just want you to know enough to be dangerous about the mortgages. I really, really, really don't want you explaining mortgages. I don't. I just want you to dangle a cool concept in front of them. And when they express interest, bring that professional in. Let's do a three-way call, right? You should not attempt. And newer agents really struggle with this. Let me tell you guys something. I started in the business when I was 18. I'm 44. 26 years I've been in this industry. I say more today than at any other point in my career. That's a fantastic question. Let's get so-and-so on the phone to confirm. You know why that is? Because stuff changes constantly. It's like, it's the second you think you know it, just completely changed. So instead of trying to compensate for your lack of experience around the matter by saying, yeah, so and like we go down this like word vomit trail of words that mean nothing. And it does not move the needle for the client at all. In fact, they get off thinking, I don't even know what they said, and I'm really overwhelmed. Instead of just saying, oh, that's such a good question. I know enough to know that that's a lender question, and I'm going to add value right now by connecting you with them. Do you have 5 minutes? I'm going to see if I can get them on the phone right now. Become the secretary, right? Don't just say, I'll have them call you. Don't do that, right? Segue that conversation and get them on the phone so that you can actually move the needle and become a key component of every step of the way. Same thing with the contractors. Hey, I've got an electrician. Would you like to talk to him? Sure. Hold on. Let me see if I can get a three-way call. How valuable is that? You now are starting to get in the place where let's see, your thoughts on how to go about leads that text and share their non-interest. How to go about those leads. Yeah. So if they text and say, I'm not interested, right? It's the same as when we're on the phone. Totally understand. Got it. Makes sense. However you want to affirm the fact that they are, that you heard them, right? And with text, you got to be straight to the point. So for me, if I got a CMA lead and they got a text and they responded, I'm not interested, I would say, got it. Looking at your home value now, did you update your kitchen by chance? So I'm going to ignore the fact that they said not interested and ask them a really engaging and specific question. I actually don't care what your question is. I just care that it's specific to their scenario, right? When they answer it, if they say yes, got it. That could definitely impact the numbers. If they say no, got it. That could definitely impact the numbers. Do you have 5 minutes to chat on the phone about this? That's it. Do you have 5 minutes? Ask them an engaging question. And then once they respond, okay, that impacts things because it does, right? I mean, I'm not telling a lie. And then from there, you get them on the phone. And the question I like that I really want you guys to start using because it works really well is when they start telling you why they're not interested, why they're not ready, right? The questions I would either use, got it. Well, if you did decide to move, would you stay local or move somewhere else? That's for the people that say they don't know where they would go. The one that I find with homeowners that I just don't feel like I'm getting the truth, I normally will say something along the lines of, sounds like you're not even close to being ready. Out of curiosity, if the price was right, would you be open to receiving an offer for your home in the next 6 to 12 months? If the price was right, would you be open to, this is key, receiving an offer in the next 6 to 12 months? If they say no to that, just put them on a drip. They're not a real seller because that's like as low urgency as you get, right? But a lot of them are going to say, yeah, I would consider it. And now you have a whole new talk track about them considering an offer, right? It opens up a whole new window of opportunity in that conversation. All right, we have another Lath. How's it going, buddy?
Good. I was just gonna add to that. So, like, I've done the text, and instead of asking about the kitchen, I usually ask about the roof. Ask when it was updated. But how persistent do you be? Because they'll be like, "No, I'm not ready. I'm not interested. I don't want the evaluation anymore." Because I'll contact them. Hi, my name is Lath. I'm contacting you regarding your free home evaluation. Just have a couple of questions to follow up on. Has your roof been updated anytime recently? And then they'll be like, "Not interested." I'm like, "Oh, the evaluation is almost complete. Just need some key details. Do you have 5 minutes to discuss?" And they're like, I don't want to sell. I'm not interested. I don't want the evaluation. Like, whatever it is. So how persistent do you go?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, if I was to get that person on the phone, if we were calling leads together in my office and I got a lead, I call them and they say not interested, I would actually present myself as confused. I would say, oh, yeah. Okay, well, I got a request on 123 Smith Street. Do you own 123 Smith Street? Yes, but I'm not interested. No, I understand. You've made yourself very clear. You're not interested in selling. Got it. I have to make good with my team. When we have a file come across our desk, we try to make sure that we give those numbers. And I just want to let you know, there's no cost for this. This is our service to the community of making sure people know what their home is worth. With that in mind, Mr. Smith, have you updated the kitchen recently? Have you updated your roof recently? So I'm going to basically kind of you see here where I'm not telling them they have to do it. I'm sharing a reason why I'm legitimate as a business owner. And I'm just kind of acknowledging it and moving on. I'm not, what a lot of us do is we say, Mr. Smith, I make sure I give you a good home value. And then we kind of express ourselves in a way that like, is that okay? And I'm not saying you actually use the phrase, is that okay? Our demeanor is that okay? And for me, I kind of, in the beginning of the call, I kind of want to have an administrative disposition where it's like, I've got 3 checks that I need to mark on my paper and I'm only on check 1. And I'd really like to move to check 2 and check 3 so I can get on my way. Right. Yeah. And so that's the energy that you're going to have in this call. And then finally, look, some of this is a dynamic between a prospect and a salesperson, regardless of the industry that you're in. Generally speaking, prospects say, I'm not interested. I'll call you when I'm ready on everything that we buy. We walk into a store, we register online, and we just change our mind. We just have this aversion to being sold. So when we call out the elephant in the room in this moment, right, have a come to Jesus moment with the person on the phone, it's jarring. Like I remember I used to say to prospects when they would say to me, can you call me back in an hour? And I would say, I can. Do you actually want me to though? Because sometimes I'll tell salespeople that because I don't want to talk to them. Like I'm calling you an hour, but do you actually want me to? Right. And it's transference where suddenly they realize we're not just a phone rep, right? We're not just a sitting on a phone. We actually are a human being at an office locally, and we're trying to talk to them about the subject. So I know I didn't give you tons of script. I gave you more of like a vibe that I want you to run with, but hopefully that's coming across a little bit.
Makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And in your delivery, what I would like you to do now, I know that you just are recounting a story, but I'll just tell you, when I heard you say who you were and who you're with and what your purpose was, your pitch went down. You started here and you went down. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to practice going up. Hey, this is Laith with Acme Realty. I wanted to talk to you about the home request that you had. Like, I want you to have that intonation, right? And after you make a statement and you're going up in pitch, it actually turns it into a question. Looks like you requested your home value on my website. It allows you to just stop talking. And that's a social cue. Silence is a social cue. I went up in pitch, so they're hearing a question mark, even though it was a statement. And then I pause, and then I allow them to have the opportunity to say, oh, no, I'm not interested. Okay, I understand. What exactly are you not interested in? Whatever you're selling. I'm not selling anything, right? Like, and so it changes the whole dynamic conversation.
Yeah. No, makes sense. Perfect. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, you guys that have been on these calls every week, especially those of you that are, I can tell you're engaged, you're nodding, and you're listening, right? So we're 5 minutes over, but I see like 7 or 8 of you that have been watching this session, taking notes, fully engaged, and you're getting something out of this. What I want you to do is, if you're going to come on next week, I would love for you to share one of your failures with me. Okay? This is a hard business. It's hard. What you're doing is challenging. And I'm just telling you something that's really made my organization. Again, I have 80 salespeople that work for me. Something that's moved my organization to going from good to great is us collaborating on the times that we tried to do something and it didn't work. This is your time to do that. I'm not cheap. I'm actually very expensive. And the fact that you can come to me and say, hey, Barry, this week I tried something you said to do, and here's what they said, and I got stuck. This is how iterative growth as a salesperson works. Because when we're nervous and we're on the phone, I don't know if you guys know the science behind it, but you're in that fight or flight status in your brain. Fight or flight is instincts. Your instincts are kicking in. That's why you can hear me talk and you're like, oh yeah, this makes so much sense. And then you get on the phone and word vomit and screw it all up and you really struggle, right? And then you get in this cycle of shame and guilt and you wonder, maybe I shouldn't call leads. Maybe real estate's not right for me. And you wonder if something's wrong with you. No, actually, it's very common to learn something new on a call like this and not execute on it for the scientific reasons I've already shared. What I've discovered that really moves the needle for you is if you're just very honest and transparent about your failures, and then we come up with strategies to help you so that the next time you finally get a human on the phone, you try something new. And what you'll discover as you open up each door of the sales conversation. So for some of you can barely get past hello, right? Well, then I'll teach you how to get past hello. Now you move to door number 2, and that is getting them to talk to you about what their home value is. Once you get past that, it's how do I get in the home, right? Then you finally start setting appointments, and then you could come on here and you're like, I'm meeting people at home, but I'm not actually getting any listing agreements. All right, that's door number 4, right? So it's just this iterative growth. And I really want to encourage all of you to jot down a scenario or 2 where you're like, man, I really bombed on that call, or I really messed up that text message. And then you're going to share with me what you did. And I'm going to tell you what I would have done differently. And then what you're going to watch is week after week, you're going to get incrementally better. And that's how real success happens. Very rarely is success overnight. It's seemingly insignificant decisions that you make when nobody's around, iteratively, day after day after day. And then you look back a month or 2 later and you're like, wow, I have really developed in this area of my life. That's true growth. And that's what we're here for on these Fridays. Okay. All right. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. My pleasure. Thanks for the love, Mark. All right. Thanks, everybody.